Oh.
I know. Look at that. I'm going to show you guys what
saw
this
that
is
over
too.
your shoulder.
Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg and Emily Miller
Hi,
live on
guys.
Facebook Live from beadshop.com. And guess who's back from her epic trip? It's Gracie. Woo!
Hello, everyone.
Gracie's like, oh, glad to be back.
Well, it's hard to come back from a 3-week vacation, right?
I don't know.
A
I've never
3-week
had a
trip
3
away.
vacation.
A 3?
No.
No.
No. 2.
Well, you know.
Yeah, I know.
Something to aspire to.
It's true.
Yes.
It's true. I don't think I've ever had 3 weeks. Pretty sure.
You never know. At least to your memory.
No.
Well, everybody, it's great to see you. Today we're going to be doing all kinds of cool stuff with wire. I'm very excited to share that. We've got so much to share, so I'm going to jump in.
It's been, there's been a lot of things happen in a very few days.
Yeah. Number one, Grace is back from her vacation, which is exciting. We're so glad to have her back.
Mm-hmm.
We also had our retreat this weekend.
We did.
Right? We had such a good time.
We didn't retreat at all. We went forward.
We did, and it was it was our Color by Design bead retreat, and hopefully a lot of our wonderful retreaters are watching us or will watch us later. Oh my gosh, we had so much fun. We've got some cool stuff to share. I'll share a project or two. We had a really great time.
It was really fun. The retreat center is in the hills of California,
above San Juan Bautista.
Above San Juan Bautista, which is on the Mission Trail, and it was so lovely to park once and kind of unpack and then
stay.
Walk back and forth to class. I mean,
our
hotel rooms were about 100 feet from the
they weren't
classroom.
really hotel rooms.
Well, what else are you going to call them?
Well, they were like retreat room. I don't know.
We had the retreat center itself is sort of new.
Yeah.
So the meeting room that we were in was very spacious and comfortable.
It
had
was.
Lots of good light.
It was.
And the cafeteria is right next door, and restrooms and everything very handy.
It was really
and then
lovely.
Across the courtyard is our hotel rooms or our retreat rooms, which were also very lovely and very kind of bare and sparse, which
a little rustic.
At first it was like, wow, it's kind of empty in here, and then afterwards it was like, oh, it's nice, my eyes have a place to rest. I'm not like looking at anything, and it was very calm, kind of 50s decor.
Yeah, it was built back I think in the 40s. It was a really cool place, and the kind of the solitude and stuff I think really gave us all time to kind of connect and stuff. So
quiet and beautiful.
Gracie, what have you got for us?
We just had happy belated birthday cake.
Yes,
oh, thank you.
Everyone says thank you for including them on the retreat and how much fun they had even at your workshop.
Yeah, we had some fun. If you look on, Karen has put on our YouTube channel, and you can also find it on our Facebook Live page. We took videos all weekend about different aspects of the retreat, so you'll be able to find it
Especially
there
on
our
Monday
YouTube channel.
Fun.
Yeah, and we did the after party with. You guys went to the Bead Museum, which is really fun, and I had a class over in my studio, which was fun. But I wanted to show, Brandon, I don't know if you can get this, but here's. Let me kind of go back. I'm going to kind of scroll through these just real quickly so people can kind of see. Let them see what's going on. So this is the road. Perfect, classic California, central state California near the coast. And we're driving up to the retreat center. It's like watching someone's like vacation slides, I know, but I don't care. Really beautiful. And then we started setting up the room. Some of you saw the little boxes that my mom made for everybody for their retreat bags. She posted for those of you who wanted the pattern, if you go to our Facebook page, I posted the pattern. She sent me the link.
Cool, I really like
where
that.
she found the pattern.
Love the little boxes.
So you guys can find that pattern there. And then we just set out the tables, which was really fun with everybody's stuff. It was really good times. And you can see there's our retreat room. It was nice and bright and airy. And then, you can't see it, but there was a little frog on the path, so I took a picture of the frog. It was the tiniest frog I've ever seen. It was really cute. And so here we are, that Friday night, we were working on some beads, some dyed and netted beads, which was really fun. And then I wanted to show you, let me turn and get to that photo. And Emily, you're going to share that with us a little
We are in a
later.
couple of months.
Yeah,
we're going to do it online. We'll
and
do it
so,
as part of our Facebook Lives.
We had some really kind of cool, everybody's color palettes that they were doing. I think this is Jane's piece that she was working on. This is Lisa Yoshimoto. And we had some macadamia nuts we were eating earlier.
Thank you, Lisa.
We were going to eat them on camera, but maybe we ate them all. I don't know. But it was so nice of you to bring those treats. And then we worked on color palettes, different color palettes of beads, different things that people laid out. Really cool pieces. This one was from Doris, and some of you saw that on, she was working with that lady centerpiece. It's on one of the videos. And Doris promised me that when she was finished with this piece, she'd send a photo, because I know so many people
It was
were
a really pretty piece, and I wish I
it.
could remember that lampwork artist. It's killing me.
It's killing me too. It'll come to us though.
Yeah.
This one, this one's sideways, but you can see, this one I think was Ellen's piece that she was doing. It was really a great piece.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to fast forward. Oh, something that I really loved. I'll turn this back. Whoops. This is Alice. Alice Howe. She brought a bunch of really cool finished pieces to the retreat. And, you know, it really struck me. So many people brought such beautiful things that they were sharing. But what really struck me is actually seeing these pieces live and in person. Because, you know, we make these pieces on Facebook Live, or we have them in our projects and stuff, but to actually kind of see what I call out in the wild, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, you actually made this piece, you know, awesome. So it was really fun to see. It was really fun to see everybody's cool stuff. So Alice, thank you so much for bringing that. Brendan, I'm going to turn this back to me and find a couple more that I wanted to share with you. I'll just flash. Here's our nice group photo. So here we all are.
Yeah, Jane's husband did a great job taking pictures.
We look like a fun group, don't we?
And that's in the courtyard between the
between the retreat center and where you go down to the sleeping quarters and stuff there. So it was really fun. So it was a great time. We're already planning next year. Next year the dates are going to be, let me just look this up really quickly. Next year the dates, I'll tell you, are going to be the 14th, 15th, and 16th of September, and we're actually extending the retreat. It was 2 nights this time, and it's actually going to be 3 nights. So it's going to be Friday, you arrive, and we leave on Monday, sorry. So it's going to be kind of a 3-day extravaganza. Gracie.
Marcia said the retreat was the best. She learned more in 2 days than she's learned in 3 years.
Oh my gosh, Marcia! Thank you. And Marcia made a really cool, she made a couple of really cool necklaces, but
her beaded bead came out
really perfectly, didn't it? It was so good.
Spectacular.
It was really
Quick
good.
question. Are you going to tag the people in the photos?
Oh, I sure can. And I'll upload that photo. For those of you who went to the retreat, I sent an email out to you guys yesterday with some links and that retreat photo, so you'll find it there. And I'll also upload it to our Facebook Live page, so you guys can feel free to tag yourselves, or if I don't get to tagging, so feel free to do that. Yes. Go.
Sorry.
Do it, Gracie.
Next year's retreat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Kim is asking if the retreat is going to be in the same locale, and Jackie's asking, is it going to be in California again?
Yes, so it's going to be at the same place. We love the St. Francis Retreat Center. Brother James and the crew were really good to us there.
They fed us like
kings
and queens.
The food was amazing. So I think we're going to keep it there, close to home for us. But we'll send out more information. We'll probably have sign-ups start around the 1st of December, but more information will go out.
And you know, it was a really pretty easy drive actually from, I'd never been there before, and I live in the East Bay in San Francisco area, and it was really about an hour and a half or 2 hour drive from my home down, which made it very doable. So if you're coming into the Bay Area, into San Francisco or Oakland or San Jose.
Yeah, you can fly into San Jose. You could even fly into Monterey.
Yeah, it's not a bad drive. And then the little hop over to Monterey was very quick as well.
Yeah, it was really fun. So
and we have to do the Bead Museum again next year.
You guys had a great time.
We had a really good time. There was just 3 of us that made it down there from the retreat, plus Janice and I, so 5 altogether. And John and Ruth Picard just couldn't have been more gracious.
That's
and
awesome.
Showed us all around, and we shopped and at their museum shop, which was is so really cute. Oh. Which means they let you look in all the cases that they have. I haven't been
there forever.
And John was just a great host.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have all that information out, so you guys will be getting that. So hopefully a few more of you can join us. We're expanding it to opening up a few more seats. We figured we had a little more room. So
and Janice is still on the road right now, right?
Yep, Janice is flying home. She's heading home as we speak. Oh, I wanted to share with you. Let me pull my computer back up. Emily, what are you wearing on your wrist?
I'm wearing next week's and the week following
Seed Bead School
project. Right? We're going to do a right angle weave bracelet. And if you look at this, you might say, I don't know if I see any right angle weave. But actually, when we take it off, you can see that we built a base. I built a base underneath and then embellished it. And I've got 2 colorways prepared with 2 pretty different embellishments on the top.
And it's so lovely.
It came out, I don't know if I do say so myself,
it's
I think
really
it came
nice.
Out really well.
Yeah, and so you're going to share, 1 week we're going to do the right angle weave, the base, and then the next week we're going to do the embellishments. Yeah, so you'll have plenty of time to learn this. And we'll talk about this obviously more next week. But kind of on the Seed Bead School kind of subject matter, we had a great email this week from Helena, Helena of Finland.
Oh boy.
That's how she likes to refer to herself. I love to refer to herself also as Helena of Finland, which is awesome. Awesome. And so she said to us, and I'll just read this and then I'll show you what she's made. So she said, "Hi, Kate and Emily." That's you and me. "I have been spending time at our summer cottage and just being a virtual beader, watching your tutorials, making something with hemp, cotton cord, and big check beads," which I'd also like to see. Helena, send us a picture of that. But she said she got some seed beads, and she made 5 test beaded berries.
Excellent.
So it took her 5 berries to get the tension right. And so she said to get the tension right took its time, but finally I made it. The color is not as nice as she'd like it, but I thought actually the colors look pretty good, Helena. So she said, "Thank you, Emily, and to you, Grace, for being so patient on the video. It's like you're both her personal teachers." So that was awesome. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Sorry, really quick. I'm sorry. I'm reading this from.
Right,
I
totally.
have a Kate from Denmark.
Hi, Kate from Denmark. Gita, if you're on, greet our new Kate from Denmark. I don't know hello in Danish, but I should learn.
But we also have a Maija who's watching for the first time, who's from Finland on her mom's side, but she's living in Oregon.
Hi, you guys. Well, welcome. We love all these new first-time viewers, and I'll give you a little rundown for those of you who are new in a second, where you can find all of this craziness. So Helena says, she said, "I really didn't know that she could have used these tiny beads," so she's really excited about doing all that, and she wishes the best for everyone at the bead shop. Wishing Grace has a safe journey in Turkey.
Oh, thank you.
And she signs it, Helena of Finland,
which
I love.
That's very cute.
So Helena of Finland,
Kate of California.
Yes, from Kate of California. Let's show if
I love this.
Beaded Berry
really cool.
kind of started us on this seed bead trek. So if you want to warm up for Seed Bead School, you can go back and watch our Beaded Berry broadcast. That's when I was at Bead and Button, I think. And you and Gracie did that one. So this is Helena's interpretation, her color interpretation. And Helena, I love the gray background and all of the different kind of greens and yellows. I think that looks fantastic.
I do too. I love it.
Really
I think
good.
you did a great job.
And so she made, here's the little set, and there's the earring
matching
set
earrings.
that she made.
Perfect.
So really great job.
Yeah.
We're so glad that you conquered those tiny beads, which is fantastic.
And really, they're not that scary.
I'll turn this back
we
around.
had a little talk about that at the retreat too. About I can't see the holes. Do I have to pick each one up? I know you actually pick up your seed beads a lot of times when you bead them. I do the little scoop method, which I'll show you again. I'll demonstrate again
next week.
next week. But also, waxing your thread can really help with tension issues. It does allow you to hang on to the beads just a little bit with that added bit, and I think waxing is good.
Yeah. Well, we have,
let's see yours.
So these are the netted beads that we're going to be showing. We're going to do this project in December. And it was kind of our Friday night kind of bead extravaganza project on Friday night. It was really fun. This was the beaded bead that I did. These are ones, Emily, that you've made for me. And I think they will all kind of maybe live together in a project. It was so fun.
What color is your bead underneath?
It is
dark
pink.
red.
Yeah. So I have, look, you guys, I have my little packet. I kind of want to, you know, when you do a new project, you know how you kind of want to carry.
I didn't know you had that all with you.
Your new project around. I'm like, I just want to carry my project around in this fancy bead bag that I have here. You know,
big
old plastic bag. So the base bead was this bead underneath.
Oh, I love it.
And so what you're going to teach us eventually, Emily, in December, is we're going to do some dyeing of these beads and the netting over the top. And you guys, just to show that I don't always get everything right the first time, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. But my first netting, it was a little off, so I had to cut it off. But you know what? It happens to the best of us. So I practiced, tried again, and I have the perfection.
Perfect little
of this bead. I love it so much, you guys. I want to make I think I want to make earrings. We'll see.
Oh.
Gracie, questions we've got?
No, Kim says that would be a really neat idea in different sizes in a bowl on a table for decor.
It would
absolutely.
Be. Yeah.
And you could just add to it as you go along.
Yeah, just toss them in. They were really fun. Joanne from our retreat did a whole bunch of beads that she dyed and created this necklace. I'll post it because I have a picture, I think, of, I don't know who was standing. It was Joanne and Lisa, I think, in their finished pieces, and she's wearing the beads that were dyed.
Yeah,
and,
came out really good.
I was speaking with Jackie, who took a class with me on Monday, and she was all, you know, Kate, I like that project, and it was kind of fun. She goes, but dyeing the beads, I wasn't really sure. And she said, and then I saw Joanne's necklace, and I was all over it. So we'll post, I'll send that photo to Janice so she can put it.
Well, the dyeing is super satisfying.
And it was so fun. And I swiped a few of your dyed beads.
Yeah, I know you did.
I know you, yeah.
I know, I saw you in my bowl.
I know, I did. I couldn't help it.
Yeah.
But, you know, two beads are me beads, right?
Are we gonna keep it a secret until that broadcast?
No,
dyes
I can share that. It's pretty easy.
The dye and the beads they were asking.
Yeah.
So the beads are going to be online soon.
Yeah, they will be
here
on
at Bead
soon.
Shop. So you'll. And I don't know if they're going to do it in like a mixed bag.
Yeah, we're going to do them in a mixed bag.
Okay, so you'll have a little handful in a bag. I will share it with you, but I will share it again later. And I have some special techniques for you. These are American-made. Hardwood beads.
Yeah, and we have a really great selection.
And they'll
be up soon.
Incredibly nicely finished. So they're very smooth. And I discovered that I could use a product called alcohol inks.
I bet you guys have alcohol inks.
You might have them, but if you are looking to get them, you can buy them at Joann's or Michael's in the scrapbooking section. They come in 3 colors to a pack. You'll also want to get some wooden chopsticks.
And that's all you'll say about that? No.
Unless you want to have fingers of many colors.
It's true. You just put them right on there.
I put them right on a chopstick, and then I don't have to touch them. And then I just let them dry. And they make a really, really splendid colored bead.
Splendid.
Don't you think?
True. I love it. I love this indigo.
Whoops.
But we're going to have so much more about this.
Denim.
The denim color. I love it. We'll have more. The beads should be up pretty soon, fairly soon. Janice is writing the copy for that, and we'll have them posted. We have a really nice selection.
And truly, it's easy and super
easy, super satisfying. And the project will be coming up on Facebook Live in December. I know it's a long time to wait, but we have so many other things scheduled.
It's going to go by like that.
Yeah, it will. So we can't wait to share that with you. So I wanted to give you that little preview. Yes, question, Gracie.
No, I don't.
We're good?
Okay.
A couple more things before we get to our project. I did want to say, for those of you who are watching us for the first time or just general info for you guys who watch us, we're on, obviously, every Wednesday at 10:30 Pacific time. And there's other ways that you can watch us if you don't watch us live. And what I really noticed from the ladies who were at the retreat, they were saying a lot of them, you know, if you have jobs, you're working, whatever, in the middle of the day, you don't get to catch us live. But you can watch us. They watch us on their rebroadcast. A lot of our customers watch us on YouTube.
And I was actually impressed to hear how many people kind of listen to us more than once.
Yeah.
So they'll watch it through, and then sometimes they'll have it kind of playing in the background while they're working on something.
Second or third time. And usually about the first 15 or 20 minutes of the broadcast, we kind of chat and go over projects that we're doing, get business out of the way. And so if you want to kind of scroll through to about the 15-minute mark, that's where you're going to usually hit the instruction. I also spoke to someone on the phone this morning. They had called and said, "Oh, I love your YouTube channel." You know, she had a couple of questions about the project, so it was great.
Awesome.
So the YouTube channel, the YouTube broadcasts are great because a lot of you have smart TVs. You can watch them right on your TV. You can also watch them right on our website. We have our Facebook Live page. Go right there. You'll see the broadcast embedded, along with the list of supplies that you're going to need. So the supplies aren't really listed on the YouTube broadcast, but if you click over to beadshop.com, go to our Facebook Live page, you'll see going back almost a year. Now it's been almost a year. It's going to be a fun end of the year broadcast. You'll be able to see all of the materials and everything that we've used on this stuff. So the last thing, a couple things before we move on to our project, I wanted to mention we've got Beadfest Tacoma.
Ooh, that's coming up real soon.
It's coming up at the end of October. So if you go to the Beadfest link, you go to beadfest.com, you click on the Tacoma show, and you'll see all the classes there. I'm teaching 4 classes, you guys, all metalsmithing. My intro soldering boot camp, and then some other ring class, a pendant class, some tube setting class. So I'm going to be there from the 26th through the 29th. So if you're around, if you're just coming to the show, say hello. There is room in class, so I hope to see you there if you're in the Northwest or traveling there. We also have tomorrow, we're doing something brand new.
I'm excited, but I'm going to be at work tomorrow, and I'm going to have to like take my 10-minute break and join
in the middle of it.
Yep.
So it has to do with some of these beads that are here on the table. We are going to have our first ever.
I just take those.
Nope. Our it's going to be our first Facebook.
It does.
Our first Facebook page sale. So it's not going to be a live sale, but I'm going to kind of post the. Get out of here, Miller. I'm going to post. I'm trying to get this right. I'm going to post up on our Facebook page at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. I'm going to start a link. And we're going to be posting some of the beads that we have that remain from our big trunk show that we had this weekend. So we're going to post some photos. We're going to post the amount available of each of the pieces. We're going to talk about what it is and the price. And Drea's writing up a little kind of how-to kind of thing for me on the blog. So I'll link that a little bit later. But basically, you watch the site, watch for that post, watch as those photos come up, and you can comment underneath, and when you comment, we'll send you a PayPal link and you'll pay for it, and it's all done. So it's going to be really, really fun. The sales are going to be final, and there are no discounts because these suckers are priced to move. So, and none of this stuff is anything that we sell online. So there'll be more info about that a little bit later, and I'll post it on our Facebook page. It'll also be in our newsletter tomorrow as well, so make sure to open up your newsletter. But I'm really excited. We'll see how it goes.
I know. I feel like there was something I didn't buy at the retreat, and now I think I should have bought it. So I'm going to have to like wait till it shows up
Well,
tomorrow.
it's going to be, we've got some really cool stuff. So we've got this check glass like you were coveting. This cool check
that
glass.
green is just to die for.
They're really great beads. We've got things like this lapis, which is great. This is Susan. Some of you remarked on Susan's piece that she made. This was one of the strands that she used over the retreat. So it's going to be fun. Yep, Grace.
All right, can you remind everyone what time it starts tomorrow?
It's going to start at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And it's not going to be a live broadcast, but it's going to be a post that I put up that says the trunk show is open, and I'm going to post photo after photo. And so you'll comment on how many you want, and I'll have all the details up a little bit later today. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully if you guys like it and you love everything, this is something that we can do on a more regular basis.
So many great stones. There was some great check glass, some really nice rondelles, and some flowers that are those little button ones, you know?
Yeah, Janice did a really cool bracelet
out of
those.
I know.
It was so good. Well, shall we get to hammering?
Let's. I brought my hammer.
If you had a hammer.
And my block.
All right. Excellent. Take it away, Emily.
I'm ready to roll.
Just kidding. Let's do it. Ready to hammer?
I'm ready. I'm always ready.
Let's get the samples out and let's get the camera moved, I guess, Bran. You can get into position. You know what I was wanting also, Emily, that I didn't talk about? We need like a couple of velvet pads so it's not super loud.
You know, I actually find doing it even on here with a piece of paper below it helps, but I'll grab you a velvet.
Yeah, I want a velvet pad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Julie wants to know if you can bulk order on the trunk show for shipping.
Yes, great observation, Julie. Whatever you order for the trunk show, whatever fits in a small flat rate box for $6.95 domestic, and will honor, of course, our $10 worldwide shipping. Both of those will apply. So one strand or however many strands fit in the box. And you guys, I'm going to pull some really beautiful stuff. I think it's going to be fun. And we've got multiples, so don't stress. Don't stress too much. It's going to be fun. We'll see how it goes. I hope it's something we'll be able to do kind of semi-regularly. All right, so you guys can see, here's my favorite earring display, which is my water glass.
Janice, number 2, says lovely earrings.
Hi, Janice K. How are you? Oh, perfect. Thanks, Em. So this hammered piece, and you know what? I am so still not prepared. The handout is on my desk. Would you grab it? So, way back in the day, at our brick and mortar store, I did a lot of wire working classes, and I started out, we had a class called Wild About Wire, and it was kind of my signature wire class. It was really, really fun. But this is kind of what came out of that class was not only can we wrap wire and wrap beads with wire, I guess, that's what I'm trying to say, we also can start to make our own component parts out of wire. So that's kind of what this whole episode is going to be about creating some of your own components. And you can see, here's some wire components here that we used in these earrings, and this kind of little open kind of loop that we've got here. I did a broadcast, I think it was sometime at the end of last year, where I made some of these other pieces, some of these like open work pieces, and these other kind of little little eye pins or head pins with the spirals or the coils, no, spirals down here at the bottom. So you may want to check out that our Facebook Live archive and find that one there, because it'll also be a good hand-in-hand one to go with this. But to start out, I want to talk a little bit just about making your simple, basic spiral. And we have a great handout for this. And if you go to our Facebook Live page, you're going to see the handout that's called Forged Earrings. And there's all kinds of really great info on this, on how to follow along and create the spiral and how to hammer. So this is a nice one, a nice companion handout for you to download and put in your little bead shop handout archives. But so let me start by saying with wire, I'm really free and easy with wire, okay? So today what we did was we linked our wire, our 18 gauge and our 16 gauge wire, right, Em? But these techniques, you guys, you can use kind of across the board with 16, with 18, with 20, even 22 gauge if you hammer it, should work in some of these cases. And I've also brought some skinnier gauge, some 26, so you can see how, I'm going to show you how I just do the simple little embellishing with stuff like that. But let's talk about first cutting our wire and getting it ready to go. So you know, as I know, I'm a big fan of this Xuron maxi shear cutter. And what I really want to make sure, especially if I'm cutting heavier gauge wire, like this is our 16 gauge, and just a reminder, the higher the number is, the thinner the wire is. So can you see the difference here between 16 and 18? And I also have, I think it's in here, I made it a while back.
Up top, I think.
Up top, my little wire gauge sampler thing. Let me see if I can find it as I'm poking around. I made this a while back. I think I might have made it on a Free Tip Friday. I can't remember. But I made myself a little, I need to make a 16 gauge one and put it on here. You can see I just gave myself a little wire, there we go, little wire sampler. So when I'm checking my bead holes, I can just go and I can say, oh, does it fit on an 18 or a 20? There's 22, 24, and 26. You can kind of see the differences there, right? I'll add one for the 16 gauge. But this is a handy little thing to have around. And then I just marked it with our little labeler. So the cutter that I'm using, I'm going to start, and I'm just going to make a spiral with this guy. I'm going to start by cutting off using my flush cutter on the end. And notice when I cut my wire, you guys, these wire cutters can really make the wire bounce all over the place, kind of. So when I cut, yeah. So when I cut, I really want to make sure that I clip and I'm covering that end with my finger. See that there? Done. So now, if you have a little emery board at home, you could just come in and give it a little bit of a file, especially if this is going to be an ear wire. We wouldn't do ear wire with 16 gauge, but you can just get your little fingernail file and file that down, or a little bit of sandpaper. Okay. Now, the basic way that you're going to start with this, and I want to check the handout really quick to see how, okay. So I deviate from the handout, making the interior of my spiral, and I'll show you. It's this part right here. What I do to make the beginning section of my spiral, especially with heavy gauge, since I'm gripping the wire, I use my gripping tool. And I come around and I grip, and see how I kind of make my little circle, tucking the interior of that end of the wire kind of in towards the center. Okay? If I did it with my round nose, and some of you may make your spirals with your round nose. Do you use a round nose, Em?
I actually use the chain nose as well.
Yeah, I use the chain.
I do mine a little bit differently than you do, but you know, if you use your round nose plier, you can
see how I get like
collapse that loop a little bit,
and see how I get like a, it's not as curved with my round. See how my I can kind of take my chain nose,
kind of roll it around.
Yeah, roll it a little, because this is your gripping tool, right? This is your looping tool,
right? And
gripping with your round nose pliers is going to start to throw the tips out of alignment, and it's also not a flat surface here on your plier, right? Your gripping plier, your chain nose plier, It's a flat surface. So that's why I use that to grip.
I do mine actually just a small amount different.
I'm going to have you do that in just a sec.
Okay.
Because I'm going to wind this up and then I'm going to have you do it. Okay? So here's the center of my, and I'm going to cut this down a little bit. I'm working with a really long piece of wire and it's a little unwieldy. So here's this guy. I've made my interior. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to grip that spiral, that little loop of the spiral I made, with the side of my, or all the way at the bottom, and have, pardon me, have about half of the spiral sticking out the side of my plier. Okay? So this allows me, and I can see I need to re-rotate that down, so that my wire is coming out at a right angle from the head of my tool. Now I just simply push, rotate the wire up, open the tool, rotate it up, open the tool, and what I want to do is I want to just have the wire follow the shape of the plier, and I want to ease up on my death grip on this, you guys, right? I don't want to squeeze this so hard that I'm going to start damaging my wire. Okay, so I'm just spiraling that up. Now for an earring like this one, this is how we did this bottom part, and we did that in 18 gauge, I think, right? And you can decide whatever size loop you like, right? Or size spiral you like. I'm going to stop, I don't know, maybe about right here.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, sure.
Is that wire hard to turn?
It's not really. It's a soft, so it's a really great question. All of this wire that we're using, even wire is tougher to use the heavier gauge or the bigger the gauge is, but this is still dead soft wire, right? So it's still pretty malleable. You could also, if I wanted to make the spiral a little bigger, I could use my fingers now too. Sometimes I do that. If I'm like, oh, look at me spiraling, right? And so we've got that spiral there. And then if I wanted to make my little loop on the other end.
What does dead soft mean?
Dead soft means that the wire has not been work hardened to make it stiff. So you can find half-hard wire, and half-hard wire is something that we might use if we were making ear wires, or if we were making like a big armature like this that we really wanted to hold its shape without hammering. But most of the wire we carry is more of a dead soft than the half-hard. This artistic wire that we carry, it's a little, it's almost falls somewhere in between, actually, but it's more soft than half-hard. So I'm going to just do my little loop here, loop it round, and there I've got my nice little charm. And I'll hammer this in just a second, but Emily, I want you to show everybody how you make your spiral a little differently.
Sure. So I sort of like my spiral to be kind of tight in the inside. And so what I like to do is, again, using that...
you get all this stuff out of the way here, so you've got a nice... Because I gunked it up.
Did you?
There you go, with all my stuff.
Using also my chain nose plier and a flush blunt cut end on the wire, I like to just use the tip of the plier to grab a hold of the tip of the wire.
And you're using 18 gauge there, right?
I am.
I use 16 for mine.
So I'm a little smaller. And I just rotate around till it touches itself, or as close as I can get to that. And then with my chain nose pliers, I'm also going to collapse that loop down a little bit, just kind of gently, so that it's sort of tighter now on itself. And then I follow the same process that you do. I grip it in the jaws of the plier. Remember, the further back you grip, the lighter your grip can be.
Right.
And that helps you keep from marring.
Right.
And then I just push forward to along the tips of the jaws, then loosen and rotate my wire. So when I'm doing that rotation, I'm not moving wire. I'm just letting go and just repositioning.
Yeah, you're just moving the wire from like a right angle up to the tip of the pliers.
And now I've got my spiral kind of going around like that.
It looks great. And can you see how, since Emily did put that spiral towards the back of the head of her tool, the tool grips a little more tightly there.
Right,
so
and a little more firmly.
So you don't have to have such a heavy hand
right.
when you're spiraling. It looks perfect.
And when I'm making earrings, I actually like to do things kind of on the assembly line.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm doing one, I will do the other at the same moment and try and work along to that same point.
To make them match that way.
To make them match.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will look for the center of the spiral as sort of my thing that I want to match up.
Mm-hmm.
So I will go ahead and make my other half of my components.
So you repeat and do one, then immediately do the other, so you kind of remember what you're doing.
As simultaneously as I can make it happen.
That makes sense.
I find that I'm better at having a pair at that
results,
point.
Yeah.
And when I'm making my spiral, I try and make the spiral go around to the same point by looking at the center rather than trying to count the rows on the outside. So I try and get the centers to look alike.
And it's a little easier, I think, to do it in these steps, so you can go, oh yeah, this one looks right, this one looks right, instead of going on to the next thing. Sometimes I'm like so excited I want to finish it up, and I'm like, oh, now I have to make
one sock syndrome?
Yeah, it's like second sock syndrome. I'm like, really? Now I have to make another one.
And I do find that this keeps me honest about the similarity between the two. I think anytime you make a pair of handmade earrings, there's going to be some variations.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just so long as the variations are sort of close to one another.
Right. And you cut both lengths of wire and everything at the same time.
I do.
So it's all consistent.
And I flush cut both ends so that I don't have to worry about picking up the wrong
to
end. And I used my little ruler. Sometimes I'll actually use my bench block as sort of my measuring tool because it's right there in front of me. And I'll measure corner to corner or straight across, and that'll give me a piece to work with.
But you can see the difference in the gauge sizes even from the 16 gauge to the 18, right? So something like this, that 16, having it be a little heavier might give you a little more of a
little more presence.
Yeah, a little bit of a more of a statement earring than that. So I'm going to then try and make one more of these.
Make a match?
Make a match. Mine won't match at all, but let's see what happens. We'll see. I'll come in with that tip. And it's a little harder to grab that wire and swing it around when it's the 16 gauge. But there we go. Swung and kind of smushed. And the middle looks sort of similar. And then I will start to do that rotation. Again, you can see my wire is right here in the back portion of my plier. And I'm going really quickly, so my spiral might be a little bit off. But I'm going to, I have a remedy for that, which is going to be hammering. And we're going to kind of intentionally make these a little off kilter. So see, I can kind of put my other one there and I can go, all right, I'm close. But see, again, I'm using with the 16 gauge. Sometimes I just use my fingers. Now, of course, that's a little bit too big, so I'll pull this back a little bit. And I'm going to call that a day. We'll cut away our extra. Again, being careful, being mindful that I don't cut this and hit Emily in the head with it.
Please.
Which would make for good TV, but not so great for you in general, Em.
That's right.
A little less than an inch. I've left maybe about 3/4 of an inch there to make my loop with. And then just like we make a regular earring loop, I'll come in with my round nose plier and rotate that sucker right up and over, and then I'll take a look and see. Those are close enough for me for today. Yep, question, Gracie.
Okay, there's a question, but there's a comment I want to share too.
Okay.
Alice says, handmade earrings are meant to be sisters, not twins.
Yes!
Oh, that's a nice one.
It's a great way to put it, Alice.
And Angela asks, when she tries to center the spiral on the wire end, it's always wonky. Any tips?
You try and center the spiral. Oh, I know what you're saying.
Me too.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll hold that thought, Angela. Hold that thought. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hammer these because it's hammer time, Emily Miller.
Okay.
Why not?
You're a worm. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. I'm going to use my chasing hammer and my bench block. And I know that Janice is in the air right now and not moderating, so I can't rib her about using her
hardware
household hammer and stuff like that. But, you know, if you do have kind of like a household hammer and kind of a dinged up bench block, you can use that to transfer texture onto your pieces. So if you have nothing else at home but maybe an old anvil and a household hammer, get yourself some inexpensive wire and try the hammering. It's not going to hurt anything, you guys, right? You'll just transfer the texture from that household hammer, the face of it, right onto your metal, which might be a cool thing sometimes,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to bring this right in here, and the way that you hold your hammer, your chasing hammer, and we're going to use this chasing hammer kind of to planish or to flatten our wire. So you and the hammer are holding hands, or like you're holding the hammer like you guys are shaking hands, right? It's a light but firm grip. You don't want to have a limp hand, but you don't want to grip it so tight that you're squeezing the hammer too tightly, okay? And the way that this chasing hammer is weighted is so that when you come down, you're holding your hammer back here, and you just come down on the surface. It's the weight of the head of the hammer that does your work. You're not like driving a nail into the roof where you're driving your hammer in. You're just letting the hammer fall down onto the bench block, okay? So I'm going to hold my charm right off of the bench block here, and I'm just going to start to hammer. And I'm hammering in a controlled manner. I'm not hammering all over the bench block, right? And when I'm hammering, I usually move my piece rather than moving my hammer, okay? So that I know where my hammer is striking at all times, so I don't strike my finger, right? Because you'll do that once, and you'll go, oh,
ow,
that was a bummer. So you can see I'm going to get a little closer to me. If I continue to hammer in this one section, and see the motion that I'm doing, strike and pull, it's that planishing action. And see what it's getting me? Let me put this down so you guys can see. I'll put it right here. See how you can see the difference? We're starting to get some shape and curve into this piece. So can you see where I was doing that little planishing there, striking and pulling? I have a nice kind of pretty hammered area. And a lot of times I don't flatten the whole thing. I like to have some round wire up here and maybe start to flatten towards the bottom of my spiral to give it just a little bit of visual interest, because you can see, I think anyway, this spiral looks a lot more interesting than this one. Yep, Gracie, question?
Angela's asking if there's truth to the concept that if you texture one side and try to texture the other side, you knock the texture off the first side.
Yes and no. So you will knock some texture down, Angela, so that's a great question. So let's say that I'm using a texturing hammer, or I've been stamping or doing stuff like that, right? When you turn the piece over and do some texturing on the other side, you are going to lose some of your texture. But if you intentionally texture this side a little bit deeper, or a little bit more heavier, when you turn it over and hammer on this side or texture on this side, you won't obliterate everything, right? And again, you're not driving it in there like that. You're just light little jewelry making taps, you guys, right? Just bounce that hammer along. You could also use the ball side of this guy, which I will, and see how I can get, and again, I'm not going to do the whole piece because maybe I want a little bit of just interesting texture along the bottom. The other place I like to texture is the top of that loop. There we go. And let me close it up. And also texturing, can you see, you guys, how my wire is kind of splaying out or kind of growing out a little bit? It's because our wire is becoming work hardened, right? So this, it's really super stiff, whereas this one here, you can see I can bend it a lot, but this is starting to stiffen up, which is a good thing because you want the little component that you've made to stay in shape. This is kind of good if I do say so myself.
Quick explanation of what hardening the wire means.
Yeah, so hardening means that when we're flattening, when we're work hardening our wire, whenever, and this is across the board with any metals, you guys, the more you move the metal, either by hammering it or flattening it or texturing it or working it back and forth, you're doing something called work hardening, which means that the metal is becoming stiffer and stiffer. If this were one of my metalsmithing classes, we would take a torch and we would anneal this metal and we could soften it, return it to its malleability, and we do all kinds of other things that are kind of beyond the scope of what we're doing today. But this, just the simple act of hammering and work hardening, and you can really see that here with this ear wire that I made, to work harden, to make sure that that ear wire kind of keeps its shape. So that's the main reason why we're doing this, as well as I like the way that kind of flattened wire looks. Any thoughts on this part, Em?
You know, I concur with all of what you're saying.
Hooray!
we don't always agree.
We are of one mind.
I also like using other tools to help me harden wire. So sometimes I use a rawhide hammer and a plastic mallet to help harden without changing its shape.
Where is our wire? Oh, here it is.
And the
nylon jaw plier.
The nylon jaw plier is another great way to harden your wire without changing its shape.
Yeah, I can just come in and straighten everything out.
Sure.
Can craft wire be annealed?
Well, that's a great question. So I was thinking that when I was saying it. Our craft wire that's covered like this antiqued wire, and even like this kind of gold wire here, it won't survive under the torch. What you want is you want to use like either bare copper or sterling or brass to anneal. But this craft wire that we have here will not, the coating or color will not survive under the torch. So let me go ahead and hammer this guy down. Again, moving the piece, keeping the wire in the same place, flipping it if I like, hammering that top loop, giving it a little shape, right, and then I can use the ball side of my chasing hammer to give myself a little bit of a dappled texture. And see how the piece is growing a little bit as it gets a little more hardened, because it kind of starts to splay out and harden. You can also use your nylon jaw plier to pull everything back into shape. And then I'll come in and I'll close that loop. So you can see I've got two kind of really fun component parts here. And then I can just add a dangle to those, right?
Yeah, those rondelles.
The rondelles are so
really
good.
Pretty.
We've got, I'm going to grab, I don't think we have a gold head pin, but I'll use a silver one. And we can use a silver, do we have a silver?
Ear wire?
We've got some silver ear wire, so we'll do a mixed metal extravaganza here. We chose some of these, the rondelles to work with because we love them. I don't know, the shape is so good, right, Emily?
Oh, the rondelles are, it's one of my favorite shapes of beads.
Look,
I also really liked the matte finish on these. I thought they looked a little old, beach glassy-ish.
And you can see, I don't know if you want to pull these guys in here.
Sure.
The rondelles, we have a couple of different types of strands of the rondelles.
These mixed strands are
awesome. The mixed strands are really cool because you get a lot of different bang for your buck on these, or you can get some that just are all one color. But like this, look at that mustard. We were doing a lot with this mustard color
this weekend.
Yeah, right?
I think fall is it.
Yeah, especially with that mustard. Now, for the wire wrap loop, we could belabor this wire wrap loop all day, but you've seen me do this several times. We've got a really great skill builder on it that we'll point you to, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm using my round nose plier to make my loop, pull this little piece underneath. And I always get super excited about doing a wire wrap, so I have a tendency I want to close it right away, right? But for this piece, what we need to do, if I were putting it on this piece on an earring, I would slide it through. I'd find a little space there. I'd slide it through, and I'd kind of make some room so that dangle had a place to live right there. Then I could just hold it with my chain nose, and I grab my bent chain nose plier.
Under the paperwork over there.
Is it here? We've made our table so messy already, I can't find my tools. And I'll just wire wrap from the bottom of the loop to the top of the bead hole. And seriously, you guys, if you don't have a bent chain nose, what are you waiting for? I mean, it makes wire wrapping so much easier. It's like a little pair of fingers that can get right in there. Now, I get my wire cutter and I come in and I clip away my extra. Now, that little point always bugs people. Like, they can't quite get that little point of wire in. That's where this bent chain nose comes in handy. So I just get my bent chain and I just press on it, and I kind of lean it towards where it's wrapping, where it should, you know, in the direction it's wrapping. And it just kind of pinches. There we go, right in there. So something like this guy is pretty much, let me grab one of those ear wires. Do we have that? You put them right in front of me, Emily Miller. I can really carefully open this loop, slide on that ear wire, and close it up. Okay, so that's kind of a bigger, heavier version of this guy. And you can see, instead of spiraling this one, I just did a single loop. And I added a little gold bead. You know what my favorite bead is, a little shadow, to just kind of give a nice little, I don't know, accent on the bottom of this. Okay. So Emily, you've been busy over here.
I've been busy over here, and I've got a couple things that I'm kind of working towards. This first one is to finish off what I've been doing with my spirals, the first spirals that I made. And I've got my two pieces like this. Now this is a nice way to actually make a head pin. So
I'm going to grab this.
Okay.
Sorry.
I could actually just slide a bead on here and use this like a normal head pin if I wanted, or I can continue to make this into something a little bit more interesting. I actually really liked these, how these came out, and the shapes it was really fun to do. It is a bit free form, and making a pair, you always want to make sure that you've made your pair in sort of a mirror image rather than all going the same way. And that some of that will have to do with which way you put ear wires on and things like that.
And that's what I did with this larger one too. I made sure that my little loops and the hammering,
opposite direction.
yeah, were like a pair.
You're a pro.
I was thinking.
You were.
A little.
A little. So if I've made my two beginning spirals, I'll need to make the other pair of spirals. And the other pair is going to be a little smaller. So these, I think, just looking at them, I think I maybe want to go around one more time. And so to remind you how I did that, I gripped it in the side of the plier, and I pushed the wire along the edge of the jaw of the plier towards the tips. That's making me more happy. Just wanted a little bit more of a spiral there. Right? And so again, I can now compare them, and I tend to look at the bit in the center to see what's happening with it. I'm pretty good with that. And I'm going to go ahead and spiral at the other end. And I was reminded of Marlo Thomas, That Girl hairdo.
Right,
when I did this one.
Marlo Thomas
it's a
hairdo.
totally Marlo Thomas. So the first spiral I made curves around in this direction. So the next spiral I'm going to make is actually going to curve around the other direction. And I'm going to take my chain nose pliers again, grip on the very end of the wire, bend it around. I like, again, to collapse my loop a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and spiral forward.
Spiral forward, Emily. Spiral forward. I don't know. I just thought that was motivational.
It was something.
I don't know.
I didn't know what to say to that.
I know.
Kate.
Spiral forward.
I didn't know what to say.
It's trying to be motivational.
So, bend the tool around. Bring it around. Collapse in the center. Just a little bit. Being kind of gentle there. And spiral around again. So this time, instead of spiraling around multiple times, I'm just going to go about once around. And then I'll compare my two pieces. And if you look at the center of the spiral, you'll see that they're kind of heading off in the same direction. You know, there's always going to be some variation about how much you collapse things or how much you wind them, and that's okay. It's just a modest variation, and that's all right. So this is where you get your really high-tech tool.
Yep.
And
I've got one for you right
thank
here.
you. High-tech tool that everybody's got some of at home.
A pencil,
or a pen. We're going to use this as a mandrel. So a mandrel is anything that you wind wire around. That could be steel, it could be plastic, it could be
a knitting needle.
Knitting needle, a crochet hook handle, wine bottle, whatever you got to make a shape out of.
Why didn't you look at me when you said wine bottle?
Well, because I couldn't help it.
All right.
So I'm going to bend my wire right around, and I'm bending this a little irregularly. I don't want to bend it perfectly in the middle. And you're going to get to see that I made a very common teacher error. I actually spiraled in the wrong direction.
Wah, wah.
Well,
but you can fix that, right?
That is NBD, as we like to say.
Right.
Right? No big deal. Watch this. I'm going to turn that frown upside down.
Because who's the boss of the wire, Emily Miller?
Me.
That's right.
I am.
You are.
Right? So I rotated that guy around so that I'm back to my Marlo Thomas effect. And I'll bend my other one.
Yes, the Marlo Thomas effect. I love it.
And as you can see, I'm trying not to bend perfectly in the middle. I'd like one to be a little longer and one to be a little shorter so that I have some interest by differences of height.
Linka said that these look very cute, like music notes, and everyone
the
idea.
They do look a little bit like music notes.
All those years I took piano and I can't play a note.
See? So they're getting closer to looking like one another.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's kind of nice about dead soft wire is you do have some manipulation
it's
ability.
pretty valuable.
You can bend things around still and make them make a little adjustment to where you might like it to be. Right? All right. I'm relatively happy with this.
Those look
Now,
nice.
I too like to do a little hammering to flatten them out. And what I find is that it changes the reflection of the light on the wire a little bit. So this gives me kind of a soft curve of reflection. If you look at these ones that are hammered, they're a little bit flashier, a little bit more of reflection. So I'm going to bring my bench block in and my hammer. And I too like to hold on the side so I don't hammer on my fingers. But one thing that I always like to remind folks about is I do like to lift up off this edge. If we were to hammer right on the edge with that bit of wire, you'd get a nice little crease, which might weaken things down the road. So I am going to go ahead and lift up just on that edge and go ahead and give a little hammer and flatten out that spiral a bit. And just like I did before, I would actually want to hammer a little bit on both.
Oh, you even hammer on both.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those do it in that assembly line process. And I have a tendency to hammer on both sides because I'm looking for flat.
Flip.
So I flip, kind of give everybody gets a little hammer time, right?
Nice.
And another good place to hammer is actually in the curve.
The top of that curve,
That helps harden it up a little bit.
Those look great. And I think the more that you practice with hammering and stuff, you know, if you were doing these as kind of an assembly line airing, you know, you can make, you know, line up 10 of these components or whatever.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes when I'm having a day when I'm not the best designer out there and I'm having trouble kind of, maybe putting my beads together or having a design come together, I'll just make components.
Yeah,
so that
absolutely.
my work time is being useful, and I'm not beating myself up over, oh gosh, nothing's coming together.
I also have a student who says once someone puts this on and their smiling faces in between the earrings, the little differences are not going to really show.
We'll never know. It's really true.
So I'm actually going to open up that spiral just a little bit at the bottom so that I can get my ear wire, in, my dangle in there. And it's just a modest amount of adjustment. But I can do this now that I'm done hammering, and I'm really not going to play around with these guys too much more. Okay? Makes me want to push that in a
manipulate them a little.
Yeah.
Those look
and
great.
so, you know what else? What does this look like to you, Kate? Kind of.
It looks like a clasp, Emily Miller.
Ah, ding, 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 ding.
Did I win?
You
Did
win.
I win? See,
so,
I actually just kind of made
a clasp? Dang
something
it.
that you could use it as a clasp.
Are we thinking alike
or
now?
a component. Who's super smart?
You are.
Because these are 18 gauge that you did here, and I did kind of that same shape here in the 16. Now you could also use this as an earring component here, but you could, if I came in and used your hammer and bench block, I could start to do a little bit of hammering here on a hook-like situation, maybe there, maybe turn it up here, just like that. And so something like this you could connect like some chain links to, or you know, soft flex or whatever. This loop doesn't have to be that big. You could make it just a little dip like this, you know, but it's that same the same idea, only a little bit of a heavier gauge wire. Yep. Question?
Just quickly share what color this was, Emily. Which color wire?
Antique bronze.
Vintage bronze.
Vintage bronze. Sorry. And like I do my my components, when I'm gonna add something that's wire wrapped, I will actually also do it in the same assembly line that I would on the others to get things matching up as close as possible. I made took a head pin, I put a little melon bead on, one of my favorites.
Oh, melon bead.
And a little shadow on top of it. And then I'm just going to make my wire wrapped loop to the crossing over stage. And I'll do that for the same for the other one. I also find a lot of times when I do this with in the assembly line, things get done kind of a little quicker, and you do avoid that second sock syndrome.
And you're not like putting down your tool, picking up your tool.
Right. I get two uses out of each one. Right. I'm going to go ahead and slide it on so that this is now loop to loop. And I'm going to go ahead and grab it with my chain nose plier to hang on to it. Whoops, wrong guy.
You have?
I do. Yeah, I just picked up my round by mistake. And wrap around at the top.
And see how Emily's wrapping with her fingers? I'm doing that same thing over here, actually off camera. Wire wrapping with your fingers are a great way to do that as well. So there's no real wrong answer.
You know, I find that using my fingers against the tool helps me a little bit with marring.
Yeah.
It means I'm not gripping quite so tightly. And if you use your tool to grip things, sometimes you are a little bit Armstrong. Yeah, a little bit too much grip. And I'll go right ahead and do everything all in that assembly line process. And your wires come last, really, for me.
But it's really funny. I always think of myself as, oh yeah, I'm going to assembly line this, I'm going to do that. And sometimes I do. But most of the time, I'll finish one, and I'll go, oh yeah, there it is, look at that, and then I'll do my second one. I don't know why.
I have kind of a large extended family on my husband's side. And at Christmas time, many times, I will make the same pair of earrings, but I'll make 20 pair.
Right.
Well, 14-ish pair. And then that becomes everybody's gift. And I find that once I have the design laid out, I lay out the beads on a head pin, I lay out everything in a row, and I can go through it really quickly. Which is kind of exciting and satisfying to get something done on of that nice. And then you're wrapping packages, and you just hand everybody one. You don't have to put names or pick. I mean, you could pick colors for certain folks if you wanted, but I don't even go that far. I just find a pretty pearl or a pretty stone, and everybody gets the same one, and
that's
I don't have anybody returning them.
Yeah, Christmas is sorted.
So I guess I'm doing okay if that's what I'm experiencing. So
those look great. Look at that.
There's my little bear earrings.
So pretty.
Yeah.
Here's my. Let's slide our new ones.
Yeah.
They look great with the melon beads and the little addition of the shadows.
I love those melon beads. I think they're really great. They're a nice size. They have a lot of color and some really interesting finish to them too that a lot of our other beads don't have. The Picasso and those real irregular finishes are pretty cool.
So you have some other things that kind of riff off of this earring.
Yeah.
Not only can you use this component as an earring component, but you have something else up your sleeve.
Yeah, I like to be working in the background. I'm one of those people who's, chugging along. I made some little S components, or if you were to look at a violin, those would be on the violin where the cutout is, that scroll, right? And I really liked how these look. I made them purposefully with that heavier gauge of wire, the 16 gauge, and I left a little opening, a little room at each end. And I'm gonna actually, and I made some jump rings because I roll that way. I am crazy that way. I thought I would assemble them into a little chain. So putting a jump ring in between each one would give me some little links to, now this could be a wire wrapped loop bead if you wanted, or a loop bead.
Yeah.
But this gives me a chance to have a little bit of extra something made out of wire. These are pretty stiff already, but I think I would give them just a little bit of a hammer tap.
Yeah, I would too.
To give it a little texture and to flatten them just a little bit. If you want, one way you can do this is count 1, 2, 3, or 4, 5, 6, or however you want to count. And so you do about the same amount of hammering on each one.
Right, so they'll be evenly or equally flattened.
Kind of plays into the assembly line thing also.
Now, what did you use for your mandrel for those jump rings, Em?
I did a very quick jump ring, and I used the largest portion of my round nose
plier. Yeah.
And as I wound the wire around, I let the wire come off the end of the tip of the plier.
Right, so you're always rounding around the same diameter.
In about the same spot, yeah. Since I was only making a couple, it was really pretty quick to do. If I was going to make any more than about 6 maybe, I would actually get out a real mandrel and make that happen, rather than just using my round nose plier. If you work making jump rings on a round nose plier, the problem is that the plier jaw itself is tapered, and so you're going to have somewhat or possibly irregular jump rings. What I tried to do my best was to wrap at the fattest part of the plier, and then let the rings come off on this skinnier end.
So they just kind of.
So
your coil grows off the end.
Right. And when I open and close a jump ring, I always find it really helpful to have 2 pairs of pliers. Now that could be a chain nose and a bent chain nose, or 2 pairs of chain nose. It doesn't matter too much to me. But especially since these jump rings are 16 gauge, they're beefy, and they're a little bit stiff to open, and that's fine. It helps keep them in shape, and keeps my bracelet together. Open and close, carefully watching. Oh. And I'm going to do the same at the other end. This time I'll grab 2 things. I'll have the first link and the next link.
Those are cool.
They worked out okay. They're not real perfect, but for this process, they'll work just fine. I need to leave myself just a little bit more.
Yeah, that 16 gauge.
This is some beefy wire.
The diameter's a little big.
Yeah. I think this guy's okay, though.
Yeah. And then you can see you'll just go along and you'll connect all of those, and that would make a cool longer earring. It would also make a cool little chain. It would make a good section for, a necklace section. Be inventive with how you want to put all that together.
Yeah, I might even use this if I was going to space out a chain on necklace and needed to be a little bit longer. I was going to add some links.
You could use it in the back. Or
yeah, that would be kind of a fun little add-on.
So let me show you while you're doing that. I'll show you literally, you guys, how Emily wound these around her plier. So I've cut my 16 gauge, and I'm going to start by just winding, and see how I'm just looping. Now when it comes around, see how I'm looping at the same place, and how that coil is growing off the side. Okay, and I'm using my thumb to kind of help me shape that wire, and so I've got that little, see how the coil isn't meeting the jaw there, but it's meeting the jaw up here. So here's my little, whoops, coil of rings. Now, to get those suckers flush, to get them cut, and you guys have seen me do this before, I have my handy dandy, my trusty Xuron cutter. I'm going to come in and I'm going to flush cut. This is the flush side. So I'm going to cut at a nice straight across, clip. Then I'll flip my tool over and I'll free the jump ring from the coil. And I'll do that again. I'll flip it over because I've got a little pinch here from where the plier wasn't flush on that side. But I'll come in with my flush side of the cutter, cover that little bit so it doesn't fly in the air, flip the cutter, and clip it down. So that's as simple as it is. Now the connector that I like to make.
That came out kind of fun, huh?
Yeah, it really looks nice. As you can see, here's where Emily connected her pieces. So what I'll do sometimes with this jump ring.
Can you work hard in the jump ring so it's stronger?
Yeah, it's pretty strong already. So if we look at this and we don't even hammer it at all, the mere heaviness of this gauge keeps this from opening.
Right.
Right?
It's sturdy enough
yeah,
that it's not
pretty
going to go
sturdy.
anywhere.
Sometimes though, what I do is I'll close it. I'll really make sure it's nice and closed and even. And I'll come in and I'll set it on my bench block. And I will give it, whoops, stay here. I will give it a little bit. This jump ring doesn't want to stay put. It gives me a little bit of a flattened look, but I'll need to come in and close this up like this. So now, once I have my jump rings, I also like to make a nice little component, and I make this little figure 8 component.
Oh, he's real cute.
And the figure 8, I use this as my companion piece for hooks that I make like this. I would obviously make that link a little bit bigger, so the hook would go right through there, and it would be kind of a hook and eye kind of situation. But let me grab my 16 gauge, and I don't measure, I don't do anything, I just make them. So I'll get my piece of wire, I'll come in and I will make a loop, and I'll make a loop, whoops, I'll make a loop at whatever size I want to make it. Okay. Then I'll kind of eyeball it and I'll go, well, I probably need about that much wire. That's maybe a little, maybe an inch-ish. Clip it away. Come and roll it back, and I'll kind of, as I'm rolling, I'll kind of judge if I need to roll it around the larger part of my plier to use all the wire. But you can see, you can just make a variety of these little figure 8s, and then you can come in and hammer those suckers. And usually with these, I'll hammer the tops of the loops like that. Tap, tap, tap. And these are good to do in assembly line because you just keep picking them up and hammering them. And notice, you guys, again, we're not having these heavy, heavy blows of the hammer. So if I do actually hit my thumb, I'm not going to take off my thumbnail, okay? We're making jewelry. We are not building a house. Okay, so once you hammer these guys out, you could simply link this together in the figure eights. This makes a lovely little chain. You could link them with Emily's spirals in between instead of a jump ring. Close that up. Or
those look so nice, Kate.
You can link them. I like doing these. You know, I make these sometimes in sterling for a fancy pants chain. And sometimes...
A what kind of chain?
Fancy pants.
Is that a technical term?
It is. Fancy pants. When, and then sometimes if I make sure that everything is nice and flush, I'll go ahead and I'll solder this chain closed. But in a 16 gauge, these loops, you guys, aren't going to come open. So
they're nice and sturdy.
Yeah, they're really sturdy. So there's no soldering really, really needed for this. But I feel like it has a little, let's come back here, a little bit of a vintage look to it. And you really want to make sure that all of those loops are closed. So there I've got just my little S, and here's your little
This would also make a really nice extender if you needed a few little extra links to a chain or a necklace that was a little short. You could certainly use
You could
those.
do it, yeah. Again, you could do it link to link or link to jump ring.
Yeah.
And you've got your S spiral component to the jump ring here. So they're kind of fun, you know, and it doesn't take that much wire, and it exercises like this, I feel, really kind of limbers you up. You know?
Most definitely. It's a good warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, question, Grace.
When do you use sterling silver? Do you tumble them?
It's a good question. Sometimes I do tumble. Most of the time I tumble. Like things like this or ear wires or components, I toss them in the tumbler, I don't know, for about 30 minutes or so. It helps to work harden my pieces, and I feel like it just kind of, I think the tumbler is the great equalizer sometimes.
You know, I feel like we're getting more questions than we're answering, but I know that we're catching up. I think there's some stuff that we need to cover in a future cast, or maybe this is a free tip Friday information. But the difference between annealed and soft, and kind of how to establish that, and maybe which ones. Maybe we need to write a little cheat sheet.
Yeah,
a little thing about how and why you might use those, and what the effects might be.
Well, basically though, for today, you guys, what you need to remember is we've used soft wire. We have used the plated wire. There's no real annealing or fancy metal smithing tricks needed for this one. Simply just getting your regular, your friend and mine, the craft wire, and exploring this, you'll be just fine. No need for too much fancy equipment for this simple stuff. Which is really effective, I think, visually.
Very fun.
It's great. Any final questions, Grace, on the project? Well, Gracie, why don't we slide a chair in? Because I want Grace to talk about, we've got the giveaway to do.
Why don't I slide out and let Grace slide in?
Okay, shall we?
That's fine.
Well,
All right.
before you go,
Don't.
we had a question of your necklace. And we had many a comment on the bracelet.
Yes, I'm so excited about Seed Bead School. You're going to teach me how to do right angle weave.
I know.
I've never done it. I won't even practice. I'll just learn right along with you.
Okay. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Will I be fine?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah. I have some diagrams. Again, dyed with the diagrams.
I like a diagram.
I know. I do too. And I like ones, we'll have them so that you can print them out. We are doing this in 2 blocks because right angle weave is sometimes a lot to take in. And then the embellishment is a lot of fun.
Okay.
Think embroidering, think fabric, think
Great.
all the things you normally do with embroidery. And
it's going to be so fun.
So we'll get to play around with that. And I've got some great sort of next up when you finish this one, what you're going to do next.
And you're using these cool Baroque.
Oh, those Baroque pearls, you know, I love them, and I've been looking for a good spot for them for a while.
Yeah, they're really good.
And they fit into this really beautifully.
And it feels really nice on. So thanks for making it my size. It goes with my crazy jewelry ensemble that
it's really, it came out really nice. And I love the ensemble with the dark brown.
Homage.
It's really good on you.
Pieces from Gracie, pieces from my collection.
You need to wear more dark brown, I think.
This from the necklace I made from the Harvest mix. So, you know, it's all
everybody got lucked out on that. I totally missed the Harvest
mix.
mix.
It's coming back. It'll be back in maybe a week or so. It'll be back.
Because, you know, it would be fun to use it on this. We could actually have a lot of that.
Do a lot of interesting embellishment.
All right, I'm going to hop out.
No, wait, before you go.
Oh.
What about your necklace?
So my necklace is a wire wrap class that I've taught for a few years. It's called the Craftsman. And it has a bunch of different techniques in it. It is something that we're talking about doing coming up.
Yeah, maybe after the new year.
After the new year, isn't that crazy? In 2018. But it is one that maybe will turn into something like Seed Beat School, where we do do it in little sections, little chunks.
Yeah, it's a really great piece.
Yeah,
I noticed you can really see right away how you use buttons, how nice that button looks.
Right, and different shapes. And mixing together a couple of different types of turquoise in this one. And
here's that beaded bail, or the wire wrap
bail that we did last week, right?
It's really nice.
Came out really well.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun, and
it's a pretty piece.
Sometimes I think of things as like samplers, but it can be something that we're working towards something much more interesting. Down the road. Thank you.
It's so lovely.
Thank you. I like it a lot.
Well, all right, Gracie.
All right.
Why don't we
come on, Gracie? Tell them all about it.
Why don't we trade some spaces? Yeah, and I'll get the signs for our wrap up. Hey, Grace Nolan.
Hey, Kate.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Look how bright you look. Here we are.
Well, thank you.
Grace has been doing the moderating on the computer, typing away with all these great questions.
I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard.
Well, Drea is off today working on some stuff, and Janice is flying, so we had to take care of all those moderating questions. But was Gita on there?
Gita was on there.
I know, Gita.
Helping out.
Thank you, Gita.
I know she's watching soccer now.
Yeah. Oh, is she? Oh, Gita, do you watch? Who is your team, Gita? I'd just like to know. Do you watch like the Premier League? Do you watch like American soccer? Or I just want to know. I don't know.
For sure.
My husband's a big soccer fan, so we watch a lot of it in our house. We do. We do. Oh, and people are loving your necklace.
Yes.
Look at your necklace. It's great.
Thank you.
Well, so your epic broadcast from Turkey, Grace.
Oh yeah, that was so fun.
You did didn't you guys feel like you were right there with her? I felt like it was.
We felt as excited as you were too.
Really?
Because you could tell. I was like,
believe it. I loved it so much.
Thank you.
And so you guys saw Gracie was in the big bead, the giant bead.
The Grand Bazaar.
I know.
Yeah. It was humongous. It was huge.
How big was it?
It
really?
was like the length of our office, which I don't know how to describe to our viewers, but it was pretty big.
It was pretty big.
But just all check glass and Prakoja. It was insane. You saw the drawers.
Yeah,
it was
the
just
drawers.
like compact drawers, the whole thing,
amazing.
there and back.
So incredible. Well, you guys saw on Gracie's broadcast how we saw those eye beads, and I said, Gracie, grab some of them eye beads to bring back. And so you did.
The very last second of the first video, I was like, okay, Kate, I'll grab
I'll
some.
get them. So we have a giveaway for you all the way. You carried those back, Gracie.
I did.
You got those from Turkey. And look, it's the eye beads, you guys. And so we're going to give you a little, pretty little baggie full of the dark blue and the light blue eye beads. And did you see these all over Turkey?
Of course.
Really?
Yeah,
they were all over,
really
right?
Did.
I
if you
love them.
remember from the broadcast, this is the original color that they used, and this was the Turkish turquoise that was used originally. So that's why we got some of those. We got some of the Persian colored turquoise as well. So just
it's great.
Fun variety.
And those are glass now. Are those check glass, do you think?
These are not.
Okay.
These are not.
Those are made in Turkey, probably.
I think they are. I didn't actually confirm, but I will contact my friends and I'll let you know.
Just so we know.
Yeah.
I
didn't even
just
think
for
to ask.
interest.
I just grabbed them and I ran to the
Ran
next destination.
Right, because you had to be on.
Yeah.
Oh, it was awesome. So if you make an order before, today is the 20th of September, oh my goodness, and you make an order before about 1 p.m. Pacific time, and not only are we giving away our Gracie's turquoise our eye beads. But we also have a giveaway going on today to the general public, which is for one of our retreat bags. You guys, I've got another one. I've got it right here. They were so fun. Gracie did this graphic, the iHeartBeadShop.com, and it's filled with the swag that everybody got at the retreat. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Look at that. All kinds of cool stuff, including one of the cute little boxes that my mom made and a magazine, all kinds of great stuff. So it's in the newsletter today, but if you want to be in the running for the beads, if you want to get your free gift, and you want to be entered in this drawing, go and make an order of, and just for you guys, usually it's $35 and over for this bag, but if you make an order of any size and you write bag and beads, please, we will add your Gracie hand-carried, stashed in your luggage, home from Turkey, little eye beads, and we'll put your name in the random drawing for this guy. And that goes on today. It's exciting,
That's
right?
really exciting.
Why not? Let's, it's still the end of my birthday week, right? We're still celebrating. And we're doing an I Feel the Love sale all the way through Monday because you guys have just given us so much love with your emails and your comments and everything. So we wanted to give back and do a quick little I Feel the Love right back to you sale. And it's in our newsletter, and we're announcing it to you guys as well on Facebook Live. This 25% store-wide will go through Monday, and Monday the 25th of September, but you won't find it on our website or anywhere else. So it's just for you guys. And add LOVE25 and we'll knock 25% off your order. There's all kinds of great stuff that, of course, you're preparing for your holiday gifts. So it's a great time to nab that stuff up. And it's a great time to make an order before 1 o'clock and get your little... I'm gonna have to swipe just a couple of these. I know. I'm looking at these with lust in my heart. Looks great. Well, next week, you guys, we're gonna have a fun time with Emily and Seed Bead School. And this Free Tip Friday, I have some fun ideas up my sleeve that I'm not going to share quite yet because, as always, I don't have them quite fleshed out. But Friday, Free Tip Friday, we're going to have a great time. Open your newsletters this weekend because we've got some more giveaways coming. And I think that's it.
I think that's it. Emily, come over and say goodbye.
Emily, come over and say goodbye when you finish. As you finish typing. Don't leave us hanging. And so perfect.
I'll stay
okay.
Grace, you had lots of comments on your necklace and your
Oh,
blouse, and
necklace.
Gita was like, yum yum.
All caps.
Yes.
All
The
caps.
necklace is getting all caps. It was
Nice.
so good. Well, you guys, as always, we really appreciate you tuning in and viewing and sharing the bead love with us. And I guess that's a wrap for Wednesday.
Think so.
And we'll see you next week
We'll
for
see you
Seed
next
Bead
week.
School.
Yep, and we will get these up ASAP, so you'll have some stuff to get yourselves
To
going
play
with.
with,
But
yeah.
remember, working next week, just start with some black and white beads to start with learning this
grab your
stitch.
Seed Bead School kit.
Get that Seed Bead School in a kit out, and that really will
Get
be
you
the
started.
easiest way to fly with this. And
All
that's
right.
what I'm going to show in diagramming. Okay, and then we'll move right on to using your choice beads.
Well, I'm super excited to learn this.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, that's it from beadshop.com.
Thank you for
we'll
watching.
see you guys soon.
See you again.
Bye.
Bye.